Hi, Kathy Perry here. And the question of the day is, what is intuition? So, intuition, in a nutshell, is your senses. You're using your senses. And you're using your senses, you have your 5 physical senses that you understand that you have, and then you have senses beyond your 5 physical senses. And some of these senses are just extensions of your physical senses. For example, hearing and vision are some really common examples. You know that we can only see within a certain spectrum, and we know there's way more out there. Even cameras can pick up on things that we humans can't necessarily see initially. Dogs can hear outside of the hearing range that humans can hear. So that's kind of understood and given. Well, there's lots of our other senses are like that as well. Touch. When we touch things and touch each other, we can totally feel that. But you can touch the air, and it can feel different in different. You can feel densities, you can feel waves, you can feel motion. There's so many things that you can do with your touch, and then emotions is a sense, right? Emotions is a huge indicator, very, very important sense, which is why it's so important for us to sort of. It's not get control of our emotions, actually. It's to allow our emotions to express and get used to allowing them to express, and don't hang on to them. When we run into the most trouble is when we're hanging on to our emotions and we're getting a little too attached to them, or when we suppress them in our bodies. And then they just come up all the time because they're just there. And so part of the process with emotions is letting them flow, but acknowledging them, saying, oh, I feel this way. Okay, cool. Instead of saying, oh my God, I feel really sad. That's really sad. You go, I feel sad. I wonder why I feel sad. It's more about acknowledging that you feel a certain way and not taking as much ownership over it, because emotions flow. Another sense that's really important is your knowing sense. Ideas and thoughts just sort of dropping down into your head and using them, and recognizing that these are good ideas as opposed to other people's thoughts that you don't necessarily want. So one thing I want to describe about the knowing sense and the knowledge is how we receive information. Now, information is, it's not all just in our heads, right? Our heads are just electrical circuitry. It's like a computer. And what we do is we're running a software program, kind of like Google, and what we do is we go out into the universe and we bring in, we do a search, because we're always doing keyword searches over this and that. And usually it's our emotions, by the way, that are doing the search for us. They provide the keywords. And then we come back, and think of Google, you come back with like a page of data. And the first, hits are the advertisements, things that people want you to know that, obviously you may or may not be wanting that. Sometimes you do want that, but sometimes you're like, I don't want that. And so then the next step is the bigger thought forms, the things that people access more often and the things that you access more often. So if you're always thinking something over and over and over, it's going to come up right away. Whereas sometimes when we want new thoughts and ideas, we need to go to page 5. We need to go further, or we need to try a different search routine, a different database that has maybe different pages that we didn't even think of having. And so that's another thing that we're using, working with our intuition, is to develop ways of getting new thoughts and ideas and how to get around those big thought forms. So part of the process is we need to get perspective. We need to see things from a higher platform so that our senses are sort of opened up and we can see more opportunities. And the way, think about when you go traveling and you go to a new town and you go up into a tower and you look down, so you can see where the roads are, you can see where the oceans are, you can see where the bridges are, and you get a really good perspective. You go, oh, okay, from here I can tell. I just want to go there and there and there, and that's where I want to have dinner, and this is where. And when you have that perspective, when you go back down, it's much easier to navigate around the town, because you go, oh, okay, I know where that road goes. I saw it when I was up in the tower looking down. So that's the first thing, is you get perspective. So the next thing you need to do is you need to perceive. So this is when you use your multiple senses. You don't necessarily just use one sense, but you typically will use the senses that you're more comfortable with, especially initially, of sensing your environment and seeing what all is there. And when you have this better perspective, it's way easier to see all your choices that are out there. And then the next step is you get to choose, so now you're up there, you have the perspective, you're using all your senses so you can really see and perceive what's going on, and then you can say, I think I want to go over there. That looks like a good place to go. That's where the water is. I think I want to go near the water. So then you can map out your route. And so then when you go back down, when you have your experience, you know where you're going. And I mean, so, and sometimes maybe you want to take a picture from being up there, or maybe you want to invest in a map so that when you get back down you can check your map or check the picture or whatever to make sure you're on the right track or where you're going. But now you have that idea, and that's the process of what we're doing with our intuition is we're going through this process of going out there and getting perspective. We're perceiving our environment, and then we're making choices from that higher perspective. All right, so does that work for you? All right.